This year we're doing something a little different at AstriCon with the help of David Duffett. I organized what was originally a half-day hands-on session to a full-day hands-on session to what turned out to be 2 full days of security talks with 5 of us speaking on various topics. Later today we will have Philip hacking a system that tomorrow Nir will actually be trying to doing CSI to see how it was hacked and how to do the audit to find out what was done and how it was done. Because usually once you've been hacked, you want to know who did what, how was it done, how badly am I compromised. So we're trying to kind of get a little bit more interactive, give you guys hands-on stuff. So, this is here for the slides on the website because this is the actual blurb from the book. A little bit about myself. I'm 23 years now in data telecom. Cut my teeth doing local area networks, moved over to what used to be known as MCI before it became WorldCom and then Verizon and stuff. Now I'm working in Greenfield Technologies doing security audits and network configurations on Asterisk configurations. So again, as Matt said, if you have questions, raise your hands. We will try to get the mic to you so you can get onto the tape. Okay. Obvious question these days, okay? I'm starting with the basics here. Who's attacking you, okay? Who wants it? They know who you are. They know how to find you. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background of how these things happen. Today, organized crime has a better chance of hacking you and trying to get the cash from that because it's a low-risk, high-return type of crime for them, unlike actually doing some of the older things where they were threatening to break legs and muscle you. Now they can actually do telecom denial of service. Okay? You don't pay us, your phone system will not work. Your internet will not work. Okay? And in most cases, if you're a modern business, no internet, no phone, you're dead in the water. Okay? We've had a couple of cases over the last few years of Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations hacking systems. 2 years ago, it was to a tune of $2 million. They were hacking AT&T customers. And what they did was they hired people for $4,000 over a week to hack systems that would then call international numbers, premium numbers, that Al-Qaeda then got the cash for. All part of the arbitration, all part of the premium numbers. And a lot of things I'll be talking about is premium number. Everybody knows what a premium number is? Okay, 1-900 numbers? Okay, 1-800 numbers, 188 numbers here in the States are free. The company you are calling pays for it. Okay, if you are doing a 1-900 number call, it can hit you from anywhere from $1 a minute to $25 per call kind of charges against your phone bill. So what they will do is they will hack your system, and I'll get into this a little more later. They'll hack your system and then make outbound calls. Every 6 seconds they'll make a new outbound call to a phone line that you get nailed for $10, $20 per call, and they'll just rack it up over an hour. And they'll walk away $4, $5, $20,000 later, completely clean. They've done it 4 in the morning, so nobody noticed. And they get all of this cash, and you get handed a bill at the end of the month, okay? I'll give an example of a family here in the States out of Montana that was doing this for $70 million. Slightly different, it's not the same kind of hacking, but it's part of the same fraud. And we still have the occasional kids like Steve Jobs who go and hack systems just to prove they can and be cool geeks, okay? So there is a little bit of this still going on, okay? A lot of the data I'm talking about is from the Communications Fraud Control Association. The CFCA was set up between AT&T, MCI, the FBI. Later they brought in the GSM Association. And every 2 years they do a fraud survey of all of the telecom operators. Okay? Now, and I've got the link for the last one. This comes from the 2011. I'm expecting that they should be putting out a new survey result probably end of November, early December of this year, because it alternates years. So what we had in 2011, they recalculated the way they were looking at fraud. In 2009, they said it was $80 billion, and they said, no, we've miscalculated that. We've redone the numbers. It's only $40 billion, okay? Worldwide annual hits, okay? This is better than some of the countries that have for their gross domestic product, okay? Every year they're seeing an increase or at least the same. Nobody is seeing it go down, okay? Of the top 5, PBX compromised, voicemail compromised, okay? The subscription fraud, identity theft, revenue share, bypass fraud, credit card fraud. The only one that we, for the most part, here care about is the PBX one, for just under $5 billion a year. This means that you or your customers are getting hit for this. For the last couple of years, Nir and I have been giving these presentations. The numbers have gone from an average about $25,000, pounds, depending on the group we're talking to, up to the ridiculous cases of the guy who did it, and I'll talk about this in a second, $400,000 in 2 days. So the idea is, how do we protect you guys from this? Who is doing it, and why? Okay? Why? They get free cash from their phones. Okay? They break into your system. They make calls out, making you their local telephone company. Okay? They're reselling phone services. $5 for unlimited calls back to the home country. Okay? The cleaning lady. The people who deliver packages to your company. If you have a courtesy phone in the lobby, they will sit down and they will say they have to call back their dispatcher about a problem. The operator will say, fine. They'll sit down. They're calling their girlfriend in France. Okay? They're calling abroad. They're calling whatever. Okay? You have to be careful about how you're protecting yourself against these. Okay? Again, the 1-900 number where revenue share is part of the process. The people who are getting this money are making a deal with their local telephone company that says, okay, $20, you get to keep 5, I get to keep 15. Phone companies are going, no problem. My cost is less than $1, 50 cents or less. Okay? There's still a little bit of the bragging rights. Okay? Less so now. It's become less kids playing with it. They've got more fun things to hack, like the fingerprint scanner on your new iPhone. They're really not. The kids aren't looking for hacking phone switches or telephone companies the same way anymore. Okay? A couple of examples since last year. Telephone denial of service has gone up considerably in the last year. Okay? Just before last Asterisk, we had one company that was having a problem. September to October, they were having 90% of their available uptime. They were denied service. They had to go and completely change things. Okay? Frequently, this is part of extortion schemes. If you do not pay us, we will not stop the attack. The other side is people will do this to a call center as part of fraud to a call center. I know your name, I know your phone number, I know a couple of other pieces about you. I call you bank and say I need to do a wire transfer. They're like, okay, we need to call you back on the number on file. Somebody's now denied service for an hour on that number on file, and they say, okay, well, never mind, we'll just let it go through. Okay? Now, one of the things I'm trying to avoid in this, and telecom fraud, maybe I should go back and define this a little. Telecom fraud, if you do a Google search, will give you everything from somebody who calls up and goes, Grandma, I'm stuck in Canada, I need you to wire me money. Okay? We're not talking about that. But if anybody tells you they want you to wire them money and they want you to use Western Union, it's a red flag. Okay? More often than not, 80, 90% of the time, this is fraud. Somebody is telling you to wire money that can't be traced. Okay? PayPal, other things have a much better audit trail than Western Union. Okay? There's the actual other side of the equation where people are using telephones to defraud call centers, banks, credit card companies. We're not talking about that here. Okay? There's an entire industry that is based on the listening to the quality of the voice and does it sound like the person is lying. My wife likes to refer to it as a telephone polygraph. Okay? Pindrop has a new product here out of Atlanta that they're doing. And there are a number of companies that handle this end for the banking and credit card companies. Again, it's a separate thing. We are people who are dealing with things at the PBX level. So what the next 2 days, we are talking about strictly the kind of fraud and attacks that hit the PBX or the physical phones. Okay? One of the things we like to point out, this is effectively a PBX for the purposes of a hacker. Any smartphone can be tricked into making outbound calls if the person knows how to hack it. The smart IP phone on your desk, same thing. It has a web address. It can be attacked. Okay? And I think Flavio is giving the talk end of tomorrow on that topic. So we're taking it from the intro to the how it can be done, looking at it at the router level, looking at the firewall levels, and then how it can be hacked all the way out to the phone. Okay, so coming back to this. Recently, Remax is a real estate company here in the States that has lots of branch locations. They got hit with a $600,000 phone bill because somebody hacked their AT&T system. Now, this is a person Small office, 2 or 3 people working in it, using the Remax brand name, okay? So basically somebody hacked them for the cost of one medium to high level house, okay? They get $20,000 per house sold, so this is a really serious hit for them, okay? And they were making calls to Somalia, Guyana, and Azerbaijan, okay? And one of the things I'll talk about in a little bit is where are the places that are getting the calls out to, okay? And I was mentioning it before, there was a family that just recently settled a lawsuit against them. They set up 9 companies, one of which was a nonprofit religious organization, and they were tacking $12.95 phone cramming onto phone bills, saying you called and agreed to pay this. And every month they were hitting you for $13, to the tune of $70 million. So far they've been forced to give back about 40 of that. Okay? And what they were doing was they were taking the, I'm sorry, it's $15. They were taking the $15 of the cramming, funneling it through the religious organization to go buy real estate where they had a religious day camp. Part of that money went to buy their own mansion, their own cars. This is the ultimate misuse of religious tax-exempt status that we've seen in recent years. And it was all 100% fraud. It was 5 family members and their accountant and 9 companies interconnected and funneling money from here to here to here to try and money launder it. And it's cramming. The way to handle that is look at your phone bill every month. If you see them sticking new and unusual charges on it, call up immediately, because once you've let it go 6 months, you can't get those first 6 months back. Okay? After 6 months have passed, you've agreed to the cash. Okay? These days we're seeing a whole new category of service vendors offering services to do hacking and denial of service. Okay? So here's an actual screenshot. DDoS is a company for hire. Up until recently, they were doing all sorts of regular internet hacking. Recently, they've added on a new concept. Okay, so they would hack and do $20 an hour for denial of service, $50 for a day, $500 for a week. If you're a regular customer, they'll give you a half-price discount. If you're looking to fight this, they'll charge you $60 for, it's $30 to stop an hour, $60 to stop a day, and $750 to stop a week. So they're potentially extorting people, okay? Now what they've done is they're now actually adding as a full service end-to-end provider, telecom denial of service. Okay, and when you're talking regular phones or SIP, this is not that difficult and it's really annoying. Okay, and now they're doing this one-stop shop and they will do the anti as well as the attack. They don't care which side they're on, they're getting their piece of the action either way. Now, 2 years ago I came to Denver and I was talking about a company called Humbug. Humbug Telecom Labs does analysis based on the CDR off of the Asterisk management interface, pre-installed in Elastics, configured and stuff. And I've looked over the 2 years of alerts that they are getting for configured alerts that people are getting. Now, I didn't put in all of the hourly alerts, dollar alerts, and stuff like that for number of calls, because those are not usually fraud. I just took the ones that are specifically, usually tied to fraud. So what you have here first, blacklisted countries. Okay? Either they've taken the list of countries recommended from the CFCA saying if you do not need to do business, blacklist them, or they've turned around and they've said, hey, I'm a plumber in the middle of Milwaukee. I have absolutely no reason for somebody to be calling Somalia. Nobody should be calling Iran. So they start blocking these numbers and they start labeling them. And they get a notice every time somebody does this. Okay? Business hours. The most common and most costly fraud that we are seeing in terms of money is the fraud that happens holidays, weekends, overnights. Okay? Most businesses close Friday, 5, 6, 10 at night, and they don't open again until Monday. Okay? If you're getting a call at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning, or you're getting outbound calls, this is a problem. Okay? Cleaning lady at where you've been hacked. Premium numbers, people who are getting calls to satellite phones, the 1-900 numbers, things of that nature. That's 14,000 of them in just about 30 months. Okay? Configuration reloads. If somebody is doing a reload of your asterisks in the middle of the night and you don't know about it, you've been hacked. Okay? There is no reason it should reload, except the one legitimate case, which you should not have, is that the power went out and the power came back on. Okay? If you had a power failure, yes, you will get a reload as you bring it up. Okay? But if you're doing this right, you've got a UPS on it. That shouldn't be the case. Okay? PBX alarms, various alerts. The community blacklist is a CFCA list, and things that Humbug has learned from multiple people being attacked. And what I did is a little bit of estimates. If I figure each call is worth approximately an average of $5 per hit, just looking at the blacklist countries, business hours, premium number, community, and the blacklisted number where they've set the number, that's $500,000, or just under $500,000 worth of fraud that could have been blocked or avoided if people knew to set their system to avoid these things. Okay? Services like Humbug, there are a couple others out there that will monitor what's going on in real time and either tell you or give you an option of actually blocking it up front. Okay. I do not expect you to read all of this. Okay? This, again, this is for the later show where people want to see the slides. Voice security has always been a problem. Okay? We're dealing with telecom fraud for almost 60 years now. The first cases were in the mid-50s, and it has continued to grow ever since. VoIP is not a target, it's a more prevalent tool that they can use to get in. Okay? It's easier to attack things because you've got hundreds of people. Costco sells a little box about this big, which is effectively Asterisk in a box for your home. How much do you want to bet that the people who are buying this box have ever bothered to do an update or checked anything, change the firewall, change the way it's labeled, change the IP address or the default configuration and password? Anybody want to put money that even once it's been done? Every one of those is now a potential hack point. Okay? The free PBX software's Asterisk make the tools to attack easier. Okay? As much as we love Asterisk and free PBX and Elastics and all of the other flavors, the problem is once I've got software that makes calls, I can now set up auto dialers. I can set up other things that will automate the system, so I don't need to pick up a phone. I can just now hit it all out over a SIP trunk in a couple of seconds, sending out 1,000 calls. Okay? Social engineering, oh, actually going back one. Social engineering is the biggest weak spot on this, because people will find out what is your password, when are you available, other things, and they're using the phones to do this. Okay, big business. As I was starting to say, $2 million in December 2011 for Al-Qaeda. Okay, this is the same Al-Qaeda that Obama just went and attacked last week in Libya. Okay, DeSoto County government was hacked for $23,000 on premium rate fraud. 2 other counties were doing it. This is here in the States. Okay, for over $100,000. Averages are between $25,000 to 25,000 pounds or euros. Okay, the attacks are gone commercial. As I showed you, there are people who are willing to take money, pennies, to nail you for hundreds of thousands of dollars of fraud. Okay, and the tools are very easy. How they find you. Okay, we had a case that was mentioned to us here, again in Denver 2 years ago. Somebody called up their vendor and said, my IT guy left, we need to reconfigure the PBX. Can you tell me how to factory reset it back to the default password? Guy's like, we don't recommend that, but okay, here's the procedure. And it was a simple physical thing. You had to physically plug in and make a couple of changes. Not a problem. The vendor proceeded to log into the PBX to see what was going to happen. They took it, they plugged it into a non-secure internet connection, no firewall, no session border controller. It was found and hacked in under 10 minutes. Okay? It's that quick for somebody to find you, especially now while we're still playing under the IPv4 sessions. IPv6 theoretically will make it a little harder. There's money in it, so I don't think it's going to stay hard very long. The kind of processing power we have available today, it's really easy to take a Blade server, do multiple sessions on virtual things, and you can now scan ridiculously fast for ranges and ports. Okay? Back in February, somebody reported what they called the internet census. They decided, IPv4, I'm not going to have a chance to find out exactly where all of the internet is. So they set up a bot that went out and did a little bit of scanning, found 400,000 unsecure nodes using the username admin password 1234. So they wrote a bot that installed itself and started pinging and sending data back, checking 50 standard ports or something. Okay? They did 4,000 clients to scan one port, and it took them 1 day to scan all 50, 60 ports on the IPv4. Then they would change to a different port and they'd scan everything. Okay? You see the distribution of where they put the bots. Okay, this isn't where the internet is. This is where their bots that were doing the scanning was. Notice it's awful heavy on the East Coast. Okay? They published 15 terabytes of data. The raw data, and now there are search engines on top of that that you can find on the internet. Just do a search for internet census, and you will have the 50 gigabits of collected data that is compressed to 15 tera. It's ridiculous. Okay, and if you really want to know it, I've got the link at the bottom here so you can actually go and see how they talk about their whole technique. So I'll give you a second to write that down if you want it. Or you can, like I said, you can just do a search for it. internetcensus2012.bitbucket.org. Okay? Now there's the search engine on this. You want to find something? All you have to do is you go in, and what I did here, I just went into there and I did a search for the hostname FreePBX. Okay? And I whited out all the IP addresses because I don't want to make it too easy. You see which ports are available on the servers that are claiming to be FreePBX. Okay? So this was just one search that I did in 2 or 3 seconds on the site. Anybody ever hear of Showdown? 1, 2, okay. Showdown claims to be, or has been labeled at, and it's been on CNN and other places, it is literally Google for devices. Okay? So they will find every webcam, power plant, power switch, anything that's connected to the internet is physically connected in a way that it can be found even if it doesn't have a URL name. Okay? So I did a quick search on Showdown. Found 3.6 million SIP devices. Okay? And just did a simple search. Okay? So you'll notice, it tells me what country they're in, the IP address, the SIP label. Okay? It tells me what flavor of Asterisk they're running. It makes things much more complicated because what you get, in some cases, and one of the most popular Showdown searches, that they actually have a little banner at the top that tells you there's a search for default password. So you can go in there and do a search for Cisco routers using default password, admin1234. And it will give you the list of every Cisco router that it's found for that. Now, the free version only lets you see 100. But for $20, you can get an increase to 10,000. And if you parse out your search correctly, you can get this very simply. Okay? Everybody knows SIPVicious. It is not intended as a hacking tool. They're very specific about saying it's not intended for a hacking tool. The reality is, these 4 sections, the SV map, the SV war, crack, and report, are able to look at and do basic penetration testing and looking to brute force in. Okay? People looking to create tools to defend you have the unfortunate value that there is a likelihood of at least one person in this room is not here for good, wholesome reasons. Okay? To be very blunt, and we were talking about this, maybe next year Neil was suggesting a game that we play which is called Spot the Fed. And it's like, okay, you tag somebody who's asked too many questions, whatever, and everybody decides, okay, and once this person's been, whoever's got the most gets kicked out because they're obviously the Fed. Okay, it's a hacker session. We don't want the Feds in here. Okay? But reality is we're actually trying to talk to you about how to protect from hacking. Okay? Therefore, the chances that there's somebody in here who's looking and going, okay, what new tools can I use to get in? What are you guys learning so I need to work around it? It's likely. Okay, and I'm not going to ask for anybody to volunteer that this is why they're here. My experience is that most people inside the Asterisk community have at least once stepped into the gray area, changing caller ID or other things. There's some gray areas, and then there's out and out fraud, okay, out and out criminal activity. I'm going to assume everybody in the room is closer to lily white than completely black, but I would be very surprised if nobody in the room was somewhere in that gray spot in the middle. Okay? Okay? So again, just to describe it, SIP devices found in a range. Once you know the SIP devices, you can start trying to attack them or denial of servicing them. Okay? What extensions are available? Because people will then try to brute force dial them, etc. Oh, and the worst one of that is obviously the brute force password crack. Little concepts of internal fraud. I started to talk this earlier. Do all of your employees really need long distance or international dialing? Okay? Does the receptionist, does the people in the copy room need to be able to do this? Does everybody need a voicemail box? Okay, why does a conference room have a voicemail box that can be hacked? Why does the copy room or the server room or the kitchen? Okay? Extra mailboxes mean that you get extra opportunities for somebody to dial in, hack it, and then turn it into a call forwarding. Okay? Do you need to make all of these things available 24/7? Or can you say, lock down 90% of the company and only the help desk needs it 24/7? Do people really need to have the ability to dial in so they can make long distance calls? If so, what passwords, what other controls are you putting on this? Okay? The reality is that all of us make simple mistakes and forget to close things. And if you forget to close them, somebody will find them. It's not a question of finding a back door. We leave the front door open. Okay? What can you do about it? And this will be the same, I will expand on this a little bit more in my next talk in, I've got only a couple minutes left. About 20 minutes after the coffee break. Okay? Harden your systems, which is my next talk. Set the proper policies. Change passwords. When you lose key employees like IT people, make sure you've changed the passwords. When you change your ITSP, change your passwords. When you change vendors, lock things down that are not needed. Okay? Make sure you've got keys on server rooms and who has the key to get in. Okay? Look at multi-layered solutions. Fail to ban is a lovely solution for about 60% of the problems. Firewalls, about the same. Layer them. Okay? Use audit and monitoring tools. Okay? Be careful what you advertise. Don't tell people that you're a damn free PBX switch. Okay? Use a company name, use something else. Do not advertise what you are. Okay? Okay, which is scarier, that people can see this and now know that they're accessible on port 22 or port 80. Depending on whether you prefer command line or you prefer the web GUI, you can answer that one. Okay? Advertising Asterisk was 26,000. Just under 2,000 for Elastics, 56 for free PBX, okay, using the Showdown search. Okay? As you see, it gives you an IP address and then the name and the version. Okay? What version CentOS? What version Asterisk? If you are telling somebody I'm running 1.2 Asterisk, they will find every exploit that has ever been published on the internet and use it against you. Why are you making it easy for them? I mean, it's bad enough you left the front door unlocked. Why are you putting the neon sign going, here it is, and I've got good stuff inside? Okay? Block simple enumeration attacks. Okay, SIPVicious has some options. There's a command line you can configure in the always auth reject in Asterisk or in free PBX. Don't use the default passwords. This should be obvious. Okay? The longer they are, the better. Don't let people use the extension for their voicemail. Okay? Check your contracts. What are you liable to the phone company? Most important thing. At what point can they nail you for $400,000? Do they limit you? Do they cut you off after a certain part? These are important things to take into account. Work with the phone company to block the premium numbers if you don't have a reason for them.
What about FAS, full sensor starts? If your carrier is charging you full sensor starts?
He's asking...
No, okay, that's a harder one because false answer starts are not necessarily in your contract. You need to be able to prove it. If you're going to go back and fight with the phone company, you need a tool, VoIP monitor, something like that that will actually show this is not really happening, okay? I think we'll get a little bit deeper into that into some of the other hacking sessions. It's not something you're going to find in the contract level at least. Okay? Again, top 10 countries where fraud is happening. Cuba. And I don't mean where it's going. This is where the calls are being terminated. Cuba, Somalia, Sierra Leone, Zimbabwe, Latvia, Austria, Lithuania, Philippines, the UK. The UK. The UK has this wonderful thing about rate bands where you can decide how much as a customer or a carrier you're going to charge, and it looks like things that are going different. So if you think that you're doing $1 to all UK, somebody can say, no, it's going to be $1.25, and they can nail you for the extra bit. And the carrier can pass that on to you as part of the arbitrage fraud. Okay? Do you need to allow these destinations? Are you paying attention? Is your rate card up to date? Okay? Obviously, what else can you do? Come to the rest of our sessions today and tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll open it up for questions now. Has anyone got any questions that they want to ask?
Any other questions? Okay, we've got two. One in the back center, Matt, when you're done with that.
I was just going to ask, why do the local LECs usually allow international dialing to these far-off destinations? Because as a wholesale long-distance carrier, we typically do not offer that normally. And then they usually end up, they're usually the one that ends up getting left with the bill. A lot of local companies will have a T1 or something, and then all these Somalian calls will happen, and they're left with a $30,000 bill, and they'll just skip out on it. So usually, why do the local LECs leave that open, would you say?
Part of that would be historical. We're giving you a pipe. We're not stopping you. We don't know your business. So it may be perfectly legitimate for a company to be calling into Somalia or to dealing with soldiers or family members who are in these very strange places. So the phone companies won't automatically block it. There's also legal considerations on some of that. If you're a big publicly traded company that is being run and monitored by the government, you can't automatically block things without getting people the opt-in option. Okay? The opt-out would be preferable, but they have to opt into the blocking. So it's a whole legal problem, especially here in the States where, well, I couldn't make the call, so now I'm going to sue my phone company because they blocked me without telling me. So there's a question over here. Oh, okay. The problem with all of this stuff, and the $400,000 case was that the ISP that was providing the service did not notice the problem. The tier 2 above them noticed it and cut them off. This one actually got caught. We were doing a panel, and Tom Keating was sitting in the back of the room, and we didn't have somebody videotaping it. So he pulled out his iPhone and recorded the back of the guy's head, and we've got the session on YouTube. Yikes, $400,000 fraud. Apparently, the company went and parent company took a PBX, installed it into the data center and the server room of one of their daughter companies, locked it down, did not give the password, and didn't touch it for 2 years. Somebody hacked it, $400,000 over 2 days. And again, the internet provider that was giving the SIP trunks did not notice. Their tier 2 above them did and flagged it. Otherwise, it could have gone on for who knows how long and could have exceeded $1 million very quickly. You need to be careful. Wait.
Hi. I just wanted to add in regards to your previous questions regarding why do the CLECs don't actually bother blocking this out. In 90% of the cases, they don't even know. For example, Eric mentioned the UK. Here's a question. Who's here from the UK? Hands up. Great. Okay, what is prefix 44791100? Anybody know what that is? It's a mobile, right? Do you know how much you pay for that mobile? How much? Hands up, give me prices. Got news for you, 75p a minute. It's outside of your plan. Here in the US, do you know how many NPAs have you got? How many NPAs exist in the US? You got about 600 of those, right?
US, Canada.
US and Canada. How many sub-NPAs? How many rural NPAs you got here and here? Did you know that there's an area code somewhere in Iowa that costs $1 per minute? And it looks just like a regular phone number. And you don't know. Most carriers don't even know that. Did you know that calling the Bahamas or the Caribbean have a U.S. phone number? It looks like a number in the U.S. Most carriers
1801, I think it was the one. 801, 805 numbers used to be out to the Caribbean in $5, $10, $20 a minute.
So
809?
The question is not why they don't block it. They don't block it because they don't know. They're not even aware. They become aware once they get hit. And then what they do is they go off to the CFCA and other organizations, for example, law enforcement and so on, and they don't pay the bill on. But they do charge the customer. For example, in Israel, we have a problem. It's a worldwide problem. Basically, it's both on both sides. For example, anybody know what is the prefix for the Palestinian Authority? Palestinian Authority prefix is 970. However, technically speaking, you can reach the same number by dialing Israel, 972, and then a sub-prefix inside Israel. Difference is, in Israel, it's a local call, costing about less than a cent. You call through the 970, 14 cents. Can anybody imagine the arbitrage on that? How many fraud do you get on that? Every day, PBXs in Israel get hit for tens of thousands of dollars just on that, just terminating those calls. And people don't realize it. People in Israel, for example, don't know that if you dial 972, a local call, 97222, which appears to be in Jerusalem, it's actually in the Eastern Bank. And they pay 25 agorot, which is roughly about 6 cents? 7 cents a minute. And they don't even know that. It happens everywhere. Carriers don't know it. They don't even care. They just bill at the end, and that's it. Specifically if you're a postpaid customer. When you're prepaid, they're all, oh, it's prepaid. We can't allow anybody, we can't lose money. If it's postpaid, okay, who'll pay? But then it gets the bill shock, and everything goes array. Everybody goes crazy on it. So that's the main answer for that.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question
Yeah.
before you're supposed to be on a coffee break. Any more questions? Okay, for those who want, this is how you can contact me directly. Nir and I, that was Nir, who will be speaking later today, in case you don't know who he is. Right, Nir speaks tomorrow, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we'll break for the moment, and there's the next session will be starting at 11 o'clock.
Okay,
Thanks.
bye.